today's practice, we'll be stretching and strengthening the hip muscles and those of the core of the body, focusing on balancing the lower three chakras of our physical body, the muladhara, the svadhisthana, and the manipura. Here, here, and here, more or less, if you can imagine, from the span of our hip muscles up through the abdominal muscles, all the energy and strength that we gather here. We're going to go through some standing strengthening poses, a round of goddess and triangle twice, and then we're going to get to the floor for some nice stretching, a cute little series that you might enjoy. So as you come to your mountain pose, I invite you to feel down through the feet, not just thinking about the front, the balls of the feet and the toes and the back, the heels and the insides and outsides, but scanning the sensations, using your visualization to go over every cell of the bottom of your feet that's touching your mat or the floor or the grass, and getting a sense of an even distribution of your weight and connection. And without compromising this beautiful connection, work your way up through strong ankles, unlocked knees, a neutral pelvis. You might have to find that by tilting forward and back and side to side, something that draws your tailbone a little bit down towards the ground to offer space between the vertebrae of your lumbar spine. And from there, sense a lift in the chest, a gentle slope from your shoulders down away from the ears. And like a string drawing up through the crown of your head, a nice lift and connection from the upper part of your being to the sky above you. Very quickly run through that scan again. Feet, ankles, knees, pelvis, low spine, chest, shoulders, crown of the head. Begin to notice the breath moving in and out of the nose. See if you can relax the core muscles on the inhale that allow your abdomen to expand with the breath, and sense that nice inward, upward motion of the muscles, the pelvic floor muscles, the respiratory diaphragm during the exhale. And so draw it out for a couple of breaths if you need to, just to really tap into what's happening. Don't forget this beautiful muscle that wraps around our core called the transverse abdominis. And all of that is supporting, offering structure, and you can enhance that with awareness every time you exhale. And now, doing what you need to maintain this contrast on the inhale and exhale, and yet allowing yourself to focus on other things. Bring a one-to-one breath to the forefront, where if your inhale is a count of 4, let your exhale be a count of 4. If 4 is not enough or too many, you can adjust, just as long as the inhales and the exhales match in length and depth. Maybe you bring a little more focus by a slight constriction in the back of the throat. Creates the sound of the ocean. This is the Ujjayi breath. Creates more direction with each inhale and more restriction with each exhale. And gently step your feet out to the sides. I would say 3 feet or less. This first time, just getting a sense of where your feet are. Bringing that entire distribution of weight out to the feet again. See if you can draw up the ankles, knees, pelvis, chest, shoulders, and crown of the head again. Point the toes out about 45 degrees. And make your way into a squat. This is the goddess pose. Bring the arms out to the sides and up in a cactus shape. And now do your scan once again. Connection of the feet, strong ankles, strong knees. The tailbone points down and the chest lifts up. The shoulders gracefully drop behind you and the crown of the head lifts. And tune into your breath. Send the breath with awareness to any place of constriction for the next 2 to 3 breaths. Goddess pose is a wonderful hip opener, and so make sure that your knees are in line with your toes. The deeper you go, the stronger the pose, but there's no need to push on this first time. At the end of your next exhale, gently come up to straight legs and point the toes forward, parallel to each other. Tune into the breath. Draw the arms out to the sides. And like airplane arms, we're going to lean over to your left. And I'm going to mirror you. So this is my right, your left. Like hinging at your left hip. And so there's no like twist in the spine. You're going to keep it as straight as possible. So don't worry how far you lean. Feel that core drawing in and up. Feel your arms straight out. And then let your left hand come down and gain a nice stretch to the right side by bringing the arm up. Again, use that breath to create space where you need it and to fill space where you've just created it. Feel the inward and upward motion of energy from your feet up your legs, up your core. One more nice breath here. And then draw your airplane arms out again, back to center. Release the arms. Tune into the breath. Start your scan again in the bottom of the feet, up through your ankles, knees, pelvis. A long low back, a lifted chest, relaxed shoulders, long through the back of the neck, up through the crown of the head. Now see if you can relax where you can. Bring your arms back out to the sides. Nice airplane arms, drawing energy up the legs towards the center. A strong triangle is one of the most solid structures in the universe. So imagine that as you make your way over to your right. Again, hinging at the hips, not worrying so much about how far you go as maintaining this structure of the core. And drop the right arm. Find a nice lift and stretch through your left side. Try and keep your neck in line with the spine. You can look up towards your arm or down towards the floor. Stay tuned with the breath. Stay tuned with the connection of your feet to the surface beneath you. And at the end of your next exhale, gently bring your airplane arms back up and release them back to your sides. And work your way back to center. We're going to do this one more time. So simply stay with that routine if it felt like it was your edge. And this time we'll offer variations that you can try as well. So again, that scan, connection through the soles of the feet, checking in with the ankles, knees, pelvis, low spine, chest, shoulders, back of the neck through the crown of the head. And now step or jump your way out to the base of a triangle. Move your toes out to 45 degrees and check in that the balls of the feet and the toes and the heels, insides and outsides, all have the same kind of awareness. And work your way down into a goddess pose. So this time you can come a little bit lower, maintaining that integrity of the length in your low spine and that connection with your breath. Even inhales and exhales, lifted chest and relaxed shoulders. Open as much as you can in the next breath without compromising your structure. Chest to the sky. Now inhale your way back up to straight legs. Release the arms. Toes straight forward. And we'll come into a more traditional triangle. You can stay with toes straight ahead, or you can take your left toes straight out to the sides, 90 degrees from you. And your right toes are going to come in towards center, maybe 30 degrees. And so this left heel is kind of lined up with the right arch. Keep your hips aligned more or less towards the front. Try not to let them move too much towards your front leg. Airplane arms out to the sides. Let your right hip kind of swing back towards that foot. Reach out with your left arm. Again, maintaining the structure of the core. So if you bring your navel towards your spine, this might bring you back up just a little bit from too far of a lean before you let your left hand drop down to your knee. The right arm reaches up to the sky. See if you can relax this right shoulder back behind you, as well as the right hip. And see if you can draw the left hip forward just a little bit, keeping that curve out of your spine, even though this can kind of turn into a mild back bend, as well as a core strengthener. So tune into the breath for 1 or 2 more strong breaths, long through the spine. And on your next inhale, let that right arm pull you up, toes straight forward, and drop your arms down to your sides. Sway and shake, let some of that tension out, because if you chose that triangle and it was new to you, you might need a little release. And then take your right toes out to the sides. Left toes across, maybe 30 degrees. Try to keep your hips thinking about staying in line with the long edge of your mat. Airplane arms. Let your left hip shift back towards your foot, and your right arm pulls you forward. Feel into where that optimum place for your core is before you allow the right arm to drop and the left arm to lift. Sometimes if you move back out of a pose somewhat, you end up getting more in tune with the alignment and less with the pressure to exceed your edge. And so tune in with the breath. The left hip draws back with the shoulder towards the wall behind you, and the right hip comes a little bit forward to take the roundness out of the low spine. One more deep, intentional breath here. And on your next inhale, use the left arm to pull you back up, toes forward, and then step or jump your way back to center. And meet me on the floor or the ground in a nice transition, maybe a sweeping bow a forward fold. And one knee at a time onto the floor or ground. And so now we come into Dandasana, which is the staff pose or legs out in front of you pose. You can keep the knees bent if you need for that boost to keep your spine straight. Keep, we call this your solar plexus right at the base of your rib cage. And that's gonna be like a string attached to your big toes. So do what it takes to keep that rather than letting your spine round and the shoulders going for the toes. Take a nice grounding breath here, finding your foundation of heels, sits bones, maybe your hands. And then draw the right foot into the left thigh. The Janu Sirsasana. It's a nice hip opening pose for this outer hip, the knee out to the side. Take a couple of breaths as you ground down into this hip opener and hamstring opener with a straight spine. And after about 2 breaths, you can start to let your shoulders reach for the toes and kind of let loose. Hang down towards the knee if you got it. Make it feel good for another breath or 2. Slowly work your way back up. And then grab this right foot and put it on the outside of the left knee. It can be, this is going to be a nice stretch for your outer hip. It's Ardha Matsyendrasana. It's actually Matsyendrasana. Sorry, it's half Lord of the Fishes, but with an extended leg. And so it's a little bit easier on your hips if you're not used to the seated twist. And so getting comfortable here, placing the foot where you need to along this leg in order to get both of your sits bones situated. Feel a nice stretch in the back of the extended leg. So point your toes towards the ceiling. And now take the opposite arm of the bent knee. So I'm going to take my left arm around my right knee. Crook of the elbow goes around the knee, more or less. And if you sweep the right arm up and around, it gets you up out of your sits bones, the spine extended. Place your hand next to your hip. And for the next 3 or 5 breaths, as you inhale, think about an extension through the spine, centering and lengthening. And on each exhale, imagine your upper body twisting around the spine, from the base up through the shoulders and even the neck. So maybe just a little bit at a time. Retracting a little bit on the inhale, twisting a little bit more on the exhale. On your next inhale, gently begin to unwind. And this is where it doesn't have to get tricky, but we're going to take that right knee in line with the left heel and the right hand. And we're going to make a half circle pose, Ardha Mandalasana. And so if you watch, I'm going to make a foundation with my left foot, left heel, my right knee, and my right hand. And have a nice stretch through my left side, from my ankle all the way up through my sides and reaching up now through my fingers. Keep your neck in line with your spine, either looking up towards the ceiling or down towards your mat. Try and help your hips forward. Get a nice stretch through the front as well as the side of your body. 2 more nice, fulfilling breaths. Gently lower yourself back onto your mat, into Dandasana, the starting position. Shake out any tension. Tune into your heels and your sits bones, the length in the backs of your legs, the length and strength of your back, core, and spine. Notice any sensations on the left and the right sides of your body. And now we move our attention to the left foot coming into the right thigh. Janu Sirsasana. First, maintaining somewhat of a hip in line with that extended leg. It's going to come out to the side naturally because we're opening this hip. Keep those extended leg toes pointed skyward. And spend 2 breaths here focusing on keeping length in the spine and the solar plexus drawing energy towards the toes. And now we're coming in for a landing nice and easy and cozy as you just lay over the thigh as best you can, round the spine. You can release tension in the shoulders and neck. 2 or 3 more breaths. Easily make your way back up, upright, and bring your left foot on the outside of the right knee. Find your foundation of sits bones, the right heel. Bring that solar plexus at the base of the rib cage towards the bent knee. And then wrap your right elbow around your left knee. Begin to feel into that twist as you arc your left arm over and behind. For the next 4 or 5 breaths, focus on your inhale, centering and lengthening your spine. And exhale, gradually working your way around your spine, relaxing where you can, grounding as you go. Keeping the inhales and the exhales even. One more deep, thorough breath. Gently unwind and prepare for your half circle, making a foundation with the right heel, the left knee and the left hand. Bring yourself up. Try to keep them more or less in line. The left shin is going directly behind you. And a nice stretch to the right side. Spend 3 or 4 breaths here, finding balance. Grounding down through your foundation in order to find lift through the chest, through the hips, even through the head, wherever you choose to direct it. And then gently set yourself back into Dandasana. And knowing the routine of 3 poses on either side, we're just going to spend 2 to 3 breaths in each pose. Settle into Dandasana, find your foundation. Find lift through the spine and tune in to the exhales and the inhales. Janu Sirsasana, bring the right foot into the left thigh and just make yourself an L for the next 2 to 3 breaths. And bring your right foot on the outside of the left knee, Settle down into the feet and the sits bones. Wrap your elbow around. Arc the other arm around. 2 to 3 breaths of centering and twisting. Gradually release. Get your heel, knee, and hand in place. Lift up and lengthen for 2 to 3 breaths. Release back into Dandasana. Find your foundation and shake out any tension. Tune into the breath and bring your left foot to the inside of the right thigh. Find length in the back of your extended leg and lift through the crown of the head for the next 2 to 3 breaths. Relax where you can. And then bringing your left foot on the outside of your right knee. Find your foundation. Find your knee in the crook of the opposite elbow. And swing the left hand around. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twist. Relax where you can. When you're ready, gently unwind. Line up your heel, knee, and hand for your half circle. Ardha Mandalasana. 2 to 3 breaths. Working into alignment, foundation and lift. Gently come back down onto all fours. Work your way into a child pose. Wide knees or knees together. Whichever brings you most support for the next 3 to 5 long released breaths. Lose the Ujjayi breath. Release the contraction in the belly. Let the breath ride in and out on its own accord as you watch and listen. Gently walk yourself back up to seated. Take more time for reflection if you need it. Take intention with you into your day. Thank you for joining me in this practice.